Hello everyone. What this video is about is I asked Sam if he would allow me to video him because I thought the way that he's been managing his challenging situation, having an ALS diagnosis, would be an inspiration for others to see how someone can take a challenge and turn it into a personal growth, spiritual growth experience. Sam and I have been friends for over 35 years. This has been shocking to me in that Sam has always been very fit, very strong, and the way that this disease process of ALS has taken place so quickly, it's been, I know, something that has to also have been a shock for Sam to experience. Sam, what can you share about your experience of having an ALS diagnosis and what you've been through?
Well, I agree with you. Certainly, as we were visiting different physicians, neurologists, trying to get a clue what was going on, the last thing I ever would have expected would be that diagnosis. So indeed, it was very shocking in a way. We got a little bit prepared, so I won't go through that whole story, but some of the processes began revealing a motor neuron disease, and the words were mentioned, ALS. But after I talked to you on the phone, you and I both agreed we didn't take that seriously. There's no way it could be that. And yet, at the visit to the Baptist Hospital in Winston-Salem, the neurologist there did confirm it. So then, it was pretty immediate acceptance. Um, and I remember riding home and getting a phone call from someone who I had accompanied to that same hospital years before, and just immediately letting them know what was going on, and calling you, Ed, and letting you know, and calling my supervisor and letting her know because I knew that she knew I was going. Anyway, it was like that was my way of not only accepting it myself, but sharing it with folks who I knew were concerned and um, were hopefully prepared to hear it. I might have been a bit brusque and a bit too quick to do that, so I apologize to you or anybody else that might have gotten overwhelmed. But anyway, that's the way I did it, and so the rest of it, continues just to be um, an interesting experience where the different symptoms that I have, and I'll start off saying one of the things that I think has made it easier for me to accept it in the way that I have, and there is no perfect way, but the way that I'm doing it, is that I haven't been in what I call pain and I haven't been suffering. And that's not true for everybody with this diagnosis. So there's a lot of room there for me to have gratitude for that. And so I think that's a very important fact. I have discomfort, and there are lots of changes going on, but we all go through that in our regular lives. So this is, I guess, a little more extreme version of that. So yeah, so that's kind of a simple response to that question, Ed. Unless you want to elaborate on your question.
Well, you've lost a lot of weight. I know you're down right now to 116 pounds,
Right.
and there's been a lot of muscle loss,
Yep, that's true.
and weakness
Yep.
and things. And what's your feeling about knowing what you've read about ALS and the future? What have you done to cope or to adjust the way you have so gracefully to having this experience?
Well, a big part of that is the amazing love and support that I've been getting from so many dear beings, from you, from so many of our friends, from my coworkers at Via Health. Just a huge outpouring of love and support from friends that I talk to long distance, some of whom are also going through things like Parkinson's. So there's sort of a informal sharing network around these kinds of disorders, neurological disorders. And so that's been a big thing. That really, has made a tremendous difference. And then that also includes guiding support. With the connection um, to source and the creator, whatever word anybody would use. And so that's been huge. So a part of me, yeah, the weight loss has been, it's kind of like I consider myself the incredible shrinking human being in a way. So it's like a part of me jokes about these things. Another part is, kind of blown away by it, by what my body is like now. But it's also, been, since it hasn't been harsh, it's just been steady. It's also been just interesting, just to experience my being, physical being, as a whole different being in a way. And it isn't a whole different being, but it's a very changed being. And so that, just that kind of, wow, and realizing all the attachments I had to the muscles and the strength that I had, the access to be able to go out and weed whack or mow lawns or go take hikes or just walk around the yard. That's not so easy anymore. So I've been very limited
Right.
by what I can do now, but I've also just had to accept that because that's just the way it is for me. And so the support along with that acceptance um, just feels just natural in a way. But I know I'm being supported spiritually,
Mm.
seen and unseen, visible and invisible, in so many different ways, and I can just feel that even though there is no good outcome for ALS in a way, um, in myself, without being Pollyannish, um, it's like equally possible that it will change and be improvements, whatever that will be like, or that it will be its own version of what will happen for me that is the way that people with ALS leave. So I guess that's my best answer for that.
I've outlived my father by 8 years, so it helps me to be clear that I'm on borrowed time. Uh, Typically, when someone has a diagnosis like ALS, it also becomes very clear to them that they are on borrowed time. What can you share about your feelings of this, or any the ways that this has spiritually allowed you to grow? Because I could feel that rather than allowing the ALS get you really down, and I just have not experienced you at all on a pity pod. I haven't experienced you ever complain, and I've seen your heart just grow more radiant and beautiful, and you feel much more surrendered to the larger plan of life, and your feelings of spiritual connection are so beautiful. What would you like to share about anything I've just said?
Yeah. So yeah, the part of me is definitely much more open and accepting to passing away. It's like, hmm, especially if it's easy. You know, that would be my druthers. So you know, it's like I feel like I have pretty good completion with my life and with my loved ones and friends included in that loved ones, um, and in the world in a way. So um, yeah, there isn't a lot of angst around that. I think I have fairly typical human uncertainty since it's an unknown what that will be like, and so that exists. Um, I don't want to suffer. Who would? Um, and so, yeah. I mean, there's that human part that just would like it to be gentle and easy whenever that time is, and um, yeah, I guess that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And how do you feel you've been doing spiritually since your diagnosis with ALS?
Well, the love, as we call it, and I call it, has definitely been offering, as always, amazing supports, even for someone as resistant to the love as well as enjoying the love and appreciating the love as I know I am. So I feel like
So,
that's one of the blessings of this experience is I feel more supported in being able to let go of some stubborn parts better than I would have if I didn't have this. So in a way, I understand that this is a facility for me that, in my understanding, that um, my being sort of picked, maybe. I don't know how it works. I don't know anything. But that's what it might be, to help me to let go in an important way that I need. And I feel like, I'm kind of like I usually am. I'm making some openings and then I'm closing them up a little bit. So that's that part of me, the human part, still operating, and but I do feel the easier, deeper, sweeter access to a most beautiful connection that is supporting me, regardless of how long I'm here or not.
if I can just clarify, the connection that you're referring to when you say the love is your relationship with your source, your higher power, your creator,
Absolutely,
whatever anybody conceives that to
absolutely,
be.
absolutely that. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And so, um, that just lightens the load tremendously, and gives me a peace to accept more deeply as I'm willing and able to do that. So that's kind of what my time is now, is that, while simultaneously trying to get more nutrition, to gain some weight back, to feel some more strength, to be able to have anything that can shift, if that's in the cards, in that direction of healing, to happen. So yeah, so it's a kind of a duality. It's an acceptance of whatever, and then there's some efforts. I don't feel like I'm a person who works really hard at anything. I'm kind of a lazy guy in many ways, but I feel like I'm at least taking more advantage of the support and the blessings than I would have been if I was just going along in my regular life with no concern about anything. Certainly not concerned about my health.
Hello, everyone. This is Ed Rubenstein. I'm with my very good friend Sam Sutker, so we can continue some of the videos that we have been making. It's been a number of months since Sam last shared about his experience of living with ALS. Since that time, and Sam, I'll just share my
Sure.
understanding, and then you can confirm
Okay.
and add anything you'd like to it.
Yeah.
Sam has lost some more weight, so there's been some muscle wasting, and that has contributed to Sam being more weak. And as a result of the weakness, just getting up in the walker and going to the bathroom and back a short distance with his walker could be totally exhausting and can take 5 minutes for him to get his breath back. In addition to the loss of weight, Sam has had several falls. The last fall was last week. He fell on his tailbone and fell back and hit his head. He's being fitted for an electric wheelchair that will be arriving tomorrow. And also on several occasions now, this being, I believe, the third, that Sam has been fitted with a catheter. Um, the good news is the other two times, after a week, it was able to resolve and he was able to urinate on his own. And he's presently has a catheter, and we'll see tomorrow after it's removed. It's been in for a week, whether he'll be able to urinate on his own or whether he'll continue to use a catheter with a urine bag. Sam, anything you want to update about your experience?
Well, let's see. I think you covered the bases pretty well on all that. But yeah, just I'd say, everything has been a continual adjustment to just what is. It's kind of like, I say, it's like life itself. Um, it has its own trajectory in a way. I don't feel like I'm in control of anything. And so the things I'm still trying to be in control of is sometimes I feel like I'm having a hard time speaking loud enough to be heard. Or with my wife, she's prepares my food. She's in the other room, and I'm getting a little anxious about what she's going to do and how she's going to cook it. So I'll start giving her directions, and she starts. Well, actually, she's been very, very kind about that because I know normally that would have been a big deal between us. It would have been majorly annoying to her. Right now, I think it's still annoying, but that she has a lot of compassion for my desperation from time to time.
Well, what I wanted to share, Sam, is what a wonderful inspiration you've been to many of us. My feeling, and others have shared similar sentiment, is that you've just been an exceptional role model in demonstrating how to deal with adversity and challenging situations with grace.
Oh,
And all this time, it's you're not complaining, you're smiling, your connection uh, to your higher power, to the divine, has been so sweet and inspiring that you have relied on your spiritual strength as well to get you through the challenges of this experience.
well, that's very kind. Also, my own perspective is that I'm very fortunate. I mean, who would ever want to have a diagnosis like this? Of course, nobody would. I didn't. But the reality is that I'm not suffering and I'm not in any real pain. I have a lot of discomfort things, but that could be with anybody. Um, and the changes have been dramatic. Lost 60 or so pounds, and the weakness that has been, but it's all happened gradually. So really, all not to downplay the kindness behind what you just said and the positivity of how I'm dealing with it, but from my own perspective, um, it's always just life. It's just life. Life is, things happen to us, and I don't have the kind of brain that has to have an answer for why things happen. My brain is very lazy and it's willing to just sort of accept, oh, okay, well, that's what's going on. So, um, and the fact, like I say, that I'm not suffering by my standards has made it relatively easy for me to um, just be okay with something that I'm not in control of.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, you are demonstrating that when faced with challenges and facilities like the ALS that you're dealing with in this life, that you're choosing gratitude, you're choosing love. And a lot of people in a lot less challenging situations than this have many difficulties choosing gratitude, but you have demonstrated that you are being grateful for each day, and even whatever condition you're in, you're not complaining about it. You're being grateful for each day and grateful for all your loved ones and grateful for your heart's connection to the true source of unconditional love. What would you like to say about that?
I'm not sure what I want to say about that other than I hear that and I appreciate it. Um, so I guess we're all who we are. We've all come to where we are through whatever way that's happened. I've been very fortunate. I've been blessed to be supported um, through my spiritual process. I wasn't really someone who was a seeker. I wasn't like, I was curious about God as a child, but I didn't have a deep intellectual curiosity. And I also wasn't one of these people who was, seeking God everywhere and really wanting to be a part of a spiritual experience. I didn't have much thinking about that one way or the other. So I feel like that has come to me as a gift in different ways, and that I was at a point in my life for each part of that where it was easy enough for me to accept it and just go with what the experience has been. And so this experience with the heart is definitely the same thing. I'm being guided and supported to have a better understanding from my perspective of, you know, how life is working, and the role of the creator, the role of what we call true source or God or whatever spirit, how whatever word others are going to use, and to understand that we're being loved unconditionally, no matter what our circumstances. So I try to extrapolate that and think about people in the world in much worse circumstances who I've heard stories about people who were being tortured and were still in a state of bliss, so I consider mine, sort of a very modest example of that because, you know, there's so many beings in the world who choose acceptance and gratitude, for whatever their condition is. I've seen a video about this young man who was born without arms and legs, and he goes around doing motivational speaking to high schools, and he can swim, and he just, has this brilliant personality. So it's not a comparison. It's not like how grateful I am and how somebody else is. I'm just fortunate to have been given enough support to where my understanding about life has led me to be able to relatively able to accept what is rather than to feel like I'm a victim and that somehow or another it's not fair. So that I don't have that burden. I call that a burden. If I was feeling that and I was fighting this because somehow or another I had been such a good person and what did I do to deserve this, that would be a burden to me. So to not have that burden means that for me to feel gratitude comes rather easy. It's not because I'm not overly thinking even about it one way or the other. It's just, like I say, it's just life the way it is every day. It's like everybody else lives life the way it is every day.
I think you got the main one,
Yeah,
and we know what the main one is.
yeah. Relax, be happy.